Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 69 of the Runnin the Paint podcast. I'm Miles. I'm here with Jackson, Joey, and Nick. Guys, how are you doing today?
Oh man, what a perfect episode on the most perfect of days today. Oh,
Yeah, I do. I need a little birthday hat or something. Turning a quarter century today on episode 69, August 19th. Kind of coincidental,
Such a
I
good
guess.
number.
I'll take it, bro. It's a
I'm
little
jealous,
moment.
man.
It's a
I'm
little
jealous.
moment.
So jealous.
For sure, another birthday pod. We had one for Joey a while back when it was his birthday, and we got another fun episode. Not a whole lot of news to talk about today besides Gershon Yabusele signing to the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out to Gershon.
The dancing bear.
That's right. So
As-
not much else going on. So we can get right into our top 10 centers list. That's going to be the main thing we cover today, the final one of our top 10 lists. And finally, we have all four of us here to cover our own individual list. We can each individually defend our opinions and player rankings.
I
So
do
that'll
have
be
to
a lot.
say, before we get into this, me and Joy were hanging out a little earlier today, and we were going over the list. Maybe a little tampering involved with Joey and I's.
okay.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
We were just
Flag on the play.
conspiring a bit to put his list together this afternoon, and I was
I
trying to be impartial. I was trying to not, persuade him. I wanted to be surprised on the podcast. I wanted to know what he thought.
Hey,
I was gonna say, in your defense, I was the one trying to tamper. I was trying to get your opinion on the matter. I'll take full responsibility.
I think my
Really
exact
independent,
words
bro.
were something along the lines of, "I want to know what you think, and then I'll tell you what I think later."
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Oh.
That's perfect. Well, the final one of our top 10 lists on Friday's episode, we will have our combined top 50 list. That will be a bit of a banger. But we're in the centers list, and this is a pretty difficult list to make. There are so many great centers. The center, it's such an important position in basketball today. And it seems like now there are so many great players, like guys that didn't make the list that are 16, 17, 18.10 rebound players that
Yeah.
didn't make the list. Like Joel Embiid is a guy that we just don't have on our list because he didn't play enough games. He only played 39 games, but obviously he'd be near the top of the list. If, he was on the list, we'd have some amazing players miss the list. So, this allows for some more guys to crack into the top 10.
Yeah, I think outside of Jackson, the consensus was Embiid would probably be number 2 if he played more than 36 games in the year. But I'm sorry, don't play 40. You don't even play 40 games. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there was a case like this last season. If Embiid was healthy and played a full year, he could have been number 1 on this list. That's how incredible he was. But he just didn't play enough games.
If only he wasn't made of glass.
Okay, so if he would have went on to lead the Sixers to at least an Eastern Conference Final run and maybe even get to the finals, do you think we would have reconsidered putting him in here just because of a good playoff run?
I think I would look out my window and there would be pigs flying outside. If he made it out the second round, I'm serious.
Just out of the second round. No, if he made the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair.
Jalen Brunson was not losing to him.
He still had a very, great statistical playoffs as well. Had 50-point game, 39-point game. Some of those fourth quarters were just pretty rough. That's what we were talking about in real time. But statistically, he still had an incredible playoffs, probably his best statistical playoffs up to date. But since he's not on the list, let's just get to our top 10 centers. Who would like to go first with their number 10 center? Jackson, go ahead.
I would like to. At number 10, I think I want to go with Miles Turner. I think he was a defensive anchor for a team that wasn't really particularly great defensively. But he just perfect guy to put next to Tyrese Halliburton. He can stretch the floor, block shots, and he's not the worst at finishing inside. He could get a little better at that, but I think he's a good kind of mid-range number 10. He averaged 17 last year. And he looked up 7 boards. Wait, hold up.
He shot the ball very well in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's never been the best rebounder, but I mean, does all the other things that you would want your center to do very, very well.
Yeah, I think
Kind of
he's
like
just a good number 10. Sorry.
kind of like Jaren Jackson Jr. in that sense, where he doesn't necessarily grab a lot of rebounds, but he is that defensive anchor, and he does a lot of good things offensively.
I was gonna say, also stretches the floor, shooting 36% from three from a center is huge. From a guy that also averages like almost 2 blocks a game,
Yeah,
is still that's huge.
I like him
He
at
was
number
on
10.
fire in their first 4 games against the Bucks in the playoffs as well. He had the game 4, he had 7 threes, which I think set a record for a playoff record for most threes by a center in a
By
playoff game.
center.
Don't quote
Yeah.
me on that, but he was sensational. In the playoffs. Shout out to Miles Turner. He didn't make my list. But
Same name and
he's
everything.
been
You
there.
just hate him?
He's been there through such a long time, and he has survived all the trade rumors, speculation, and now he's part of a very good team that just made the conference finals a year ago.
He's one of my honorable mentions. He's one of the first guys who didn't make my list, but he's like the next guy or two. Shout out because he also loves Lego, and I have like a whole like 3 shelves full of Lego. So
Serious
big fan
Lego.
of Miles Turner. Yeah, serious Lego man. I love it.
Him
I'll
and
go
Derek
next.
Lively were beefing.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about Lively on this list. He's definitely in that honorable mention range. I didn't have Miles Turner on here, but he's a solid number 10 and someone I just left off. I did have at number 10 the best defensive player on the best defensive team in Rudy Gobert, former 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, I guess I would consider Rudy above Miles in the sense that he is a defensive stopper on a team that isn't giving up 120 to 130 points every night like the Pacers.
Yeah, I've got Rudy there at number 10 as well.
Me too. We're all in agreement except Coughlin. There we go. Which we knew what had happened because he's.
That's
a
how you
Timberwolves
know.
fan.
Yeah, that's how you know we're on good pace here. If we're all in agreement except for Goglin, we're right where we are.
Yeah, that's how you know we're on a good pace.
It's stupid.
But yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year
My fault.
this year.
Sorry, Rudy.
And he was really, really good. Second year of him being in Minnesota, it worked out very, very well. Jackson, ironically enough, him not having him at number 10. Mike Jackson, do you have him on your list?
He's at 9 for me.
Okay, so you do have him on your list. He had a very good year, and he's a guy that I want to give a lot of credit to because throughout the whole regular season, it wasn't just me. I think all of us besides Jackson were a little bit hesitant on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs because we've seen how Rudy Gobert, his defensive, abilities don't really translate to the playoffs. But
Well, we saw it when Luka, got that game winner on him. I think in Game 6 or Game 5.
We did, but through the first 2 rounds, he played a lot better in the playoffs. I got to give him a lot of credit for playing very well in the playoffs, and I think that this is a good spot for him. The fact that a Defensive Player of the Year is just number 10, it shows how good the center field is. But I think it's the right place for him.
The center list is pretty stacked, but he also got played off in the Olympics as well. I know there was rumors that he got like a finger surgery or something as well, so maybe that's why. But like either way, he had he did have a fantastic year. I think he averaged 14 points, almost 13 boards, and 2.5 blocks. Like fantastic with guys that like Cat, who we mentioned in the power forward list, and Ant, who's the best shooting guard in our list. Like, you don't need to be an offensive guy. You need that defense. And being the anchor, Defensive Player of the Year, and the best defense, you got to be on that list.
Jackson, you got anything to add with him at number 9 on your list?
Not really. We kind of already know what we're getting with Rudy Gobert. He's like the perfect 9 or 10. Same with like Miles Turner. I think those 2 guys are just really good centers.
Fair.
Yeah. Very, very good players. Well, you mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr. a little bit ago. That's who I have at number 9 on
I also have
my
him
list.
at number 9.
Nice. Triple J, we've mentioned it when we've talked about, I guess Desmond Bane's probably the only other Grizzly we've had on this list, how it's kind of difficult to figure out, their
His
season
value.
because they were so injured.
Yeah.
But Jaren Jackson Jr., he showed a lot more this season as their number 2 guy behind Desmond Bane, 22.5 points per game. His efficiency went down, but, taking a lot more shots. I do say though, I hope that the Grizzlies can get Jaren Jackson back to being their four-man, because I think that's where he's great at.
Yeah.
Because the two things that stand out to me when looking at his stats, not even just this year, but throughout his career, shoots, low 40s from the field for the most part. Besides 2 years ago where he shot 50%, 32% from three on 5 attempts last year, and only 5.5 rebounds for your center. I just think he fits a lot better as your power forward. But ranking him against these players, he's still a very good guy, and 1 year removed from a defensive player of the year in his own right. So he does make up for some of those the rebounding deficiencies, not being the best finisher with his defense. So I think number 9, I think, is a good spot for him.
Yeah, I also had him here, and like you said, defensive player of the year last year, was also an all-star that year. Just was kind of out of position this year in Memphis. It has to do with the fact that they were injured, and he was asked to do a lot more. His 2-point field goal percentage dropped from 58 to 50%, but he was taking 4 more shots a night. So I'd like to see him, maybe drop down to a few more or a little bit less shots, a bit higher percentage looks, and just continue to do his bread and butter. He also shot a lot more threes last year, 5.5 threes per night at 32%. If you can get that up to above 35%, then turn him into somewhere like a Miles Turner range and shooting like that. That'll really be helpful with having him as a stretch 4 option if he can play next to Zach Edey and whatnot. But again, the defensive stuff, that really is his highlight. Not a guy who's going to go out and grab 12, 13 rebounds a night, but plays both ends of the floor. And then just with him being out of position, he was asked, like I said, to do a lot more last year. So his steals and blocks numbers dropped a bit, but hopefully those will pop back up now with Ja back and him just refiguring out his role there in Memphis.
There you go. I actually only have him a spot higher at 8. But the reason his defense is still great. 1 year removed from defensive player. We said all that. And really the efficiency stuff, I was very kind of thrown by it, but it's because they had no other options and they were so injured. He was leaned on heavier. So plus, I think next year when they have, or this upcoming year with Zach Edey playing hopefully the 5 and Jackson back to the 4, I think he's going to have a huge bounce back year and be a top player in the West, or at least top big man in the West this year.
So he's finished in – sorry, Joey.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say he's finished in the top 11. He was 11th and most improved the year before last, and then top 10 the year prior to that. I wonder if he could be a most improved guy. I don't know. It'd be tough, though, because like you said, Miles, he averaged 22.5 this year and had a career year in scoring.
Yeah, you'd have to go up to 25 at least.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just kind of difficult because Ja Morant is coming back. I will say that when you look at his field goal percentage, 44% from the field, and the everything being kind of lower, I think a part of that was because the Grizzlies, all their guys were injured, and it kind of turned into I don't know, not even a rebuilding year, but they just weren't good enough to really compete. I think they were kind of like, all right, Jaren, we know that you can defend. We know that you can stretch the floor a little bit. Try out some shot creation moves. If it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. We're not really trying to win games at this point. The worst thing that happens is that we lose games and get a lottery pick who can maybe get you back to your 4 position. So I think that may have a little to do with his field goal percentage going down, because he was taking some tough, floater shots. He doesn't have the prettiest jump shot, so some of the shots he takes may not look as high quality as some other players. I think that he will be better. His stats may not show it next year, but I think he will be better than he was this year. And I think it was just a product of his situation.
I definitely think it was more of a development year for him and Desmond Bane, where they were the offense.
Yeah, I'm looking
at he's still only 24. 24 going on 25.
Yeah, how many players in your, this was his 6th year in the league, get to basically take a year to grow a little bit more. Like once you're in your 6th year, you're on a team like the Grizzlies who are contending top of the Western Conference. You don't really have much room for error. He was able to have, room for error and get to show some more things in his games. And I think it will only make him and the Grizzlies better, because now they know that, okay, if Ja Morant goes down, if Desmond Bane goes down, if Jaren goes down, like any one of those guys, I mean, we already know with Ja Morant, but any of those guys can create for themselves and make plays because of this season where they were able to get more reps. So I think that'll definitely help them going forward.
Very true, very true. I still haven't given my 9. My 9 is
ahead.
actually Chet Holmgren.
Mm.
I have Chet there. He average what's his stats? He first off, huge shout out. I give major props. I know we talked about Embiid being out. Huge props for Chet Holmgren being out all of last year. Couldn't even play his technical first year, and then this year playing all 82 games. Huge major props to him for that. Honestly, that's probably why I probably put him like kind of like that, but shooting 37% from 3, 53 from the field, over 200 blocks a game, 8 boards, 60 and a half points. I know J-Dub's the second best player on that team besides Shea, but I think this year he's going to even go even higher.
Especially if he runs that power forward position, if they decide to start both him and Hartenstein, could open up a whole new world for him in that team. Jackson, why are you crying?
Yeah, is he too low?
Chet at 9 is crazy.
I have him at 8, bro. He's one spot higher for me.
I'm like, is he too
I
low?
agree. I've got him at number 8 as well. So we can talk more about him later once we get there. Jackson, is your number 9?
It's Rudy.
Oh, right. Yours is Rudy.
He did say that.
Okay.
I try not to too much.
So you two had him at 8, so I'm not too far off. Okay, that's not too bad. And I had Jaren Jackson. We just flip-flopped those guys.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Jackson, who do you have at 8 then?
I have Kristaps.
Oh Lord.
What?
Okay.
It might be low, but I don't know.
Explain this one.
Yeah.
He doesn't bring
Explain
the
him below Wemby, below Şengün, below Bam. Explain that. I don't have him below any of those dudes.
No,
well,
I don't
okay,
either.
because the other guys, to me, he's mainly just like go out there and score. Not like only that. Like he does play
KP?
good.
Dude averaged 2 blocks a game last year.
Yeah, bro.
He plays good defense, but these other guys do everything.
Rim protector. He's a rim protector stretch 5 at 7 whoever who can just shoot over anyone except for Wemby and Gobert. And then he'll put on the deck and get past you if you're too slow. Like if you're not Jaren Jackson or if you're not Evan Mobley, like he's going around Jared Allen every single time.
Okay. Clearly, we all have him higher to where we could just talk about him later.
Let me talk about Chet real quick because I got Chet at 8.
Yeah,
bro. Chet. So Chet was the only player under 22, I think, in the top 15 in win shares. He had 8.9 win shares last year, which is unheard of for a guy in his first year. And I mean, talk about value to your team. Like OKC was just outside the playoffs the year before. I think they just missed it. And then all of a sudden they're the 1 seed and Shea's MVP candidate. Like that has a lot to do with the fact that they filled a huge role in Chet, and Chet's been playing hard on both ends. Like 9 blocks versus the Cavs in January or something. Like that was like when I was like, all right, this dude.
Second career game. Career game.
I was like, all right, this dude's ready. Like he's gonna be making an impact.
Yeah, like Chet was awesome. Like him and the entire Thunder team, I love them now. I've been going back, over the last few days, checking out some of our first podcast episodes to check out our old takes about the season before it started.
Watching film.
Yes, I was completely wrong about the Thunder. Basically, well, because of their age. I mean, no one expected them to be as good as they were. I think, like, Nick, you had them at the 4th seed. And the rest of us had them in, like, the play-in range. And even that, like, 4th seed, there's no way they could be a 4th seed. But the main difference was Chet Holmgren going in there. And he was special. Very, very special. Like, he was, a guy that I always think about defensively in his rookie season is Evan Mobley, because that's probably the best one that I had seen until this season. Chet reminded me so much of Mobley, and he could step out and, make shots from outside, create for himself, and be a huge contributor to a winning team. All the credit to Chet Holmgren. Incredible rookie season. To think like we'll get to Wemby obviously going forward. But 16 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. good efficiency. And this is probably the worst we're going to see of him in his career for at least 12 years, barring any crazy injuries. This is the worst we're going to see him. That's incredible that he was already, at his worst, 8th best center in the NBA.
I know we talked about it when we said the other list with Brandon Miller. It's like if you were in any other year without Wemby or Chet, you would have been Rookie of the Year. It's the same thing for Chet. If you were in any other year for your Rookie of the Year without Wemby, you would have easily won it.
Same thing for Amon Thompson. Just kidding.
You know what? At number 7, I have Thompson's teammate. I have Alperen Şengün as my 7th.
I got him there too.
Best center.
All right, I
Nice.
rated him too.
Alp, man, I've been a big fan of him since he's entered the NBA, and had his breakout year really this year as a scorer. We've always known that how great of a playmaker he is, a rebounder. His post scoring was great. He added that little one-legged Dirk mid-range fadeaway. Very good year from Alp.
So good.
He's like the Turkish Joker.
Kind of, yeah. He's on that trajectory, honestly.
So he was also one of the youngest players in the win shares total. He was number 40, just below 8.9 was Chet's number. I think Şengün was at right around that 7 mark, like 6.8 or so.
And he missed a good chunk of the year.
Yeah, I got hurt right at the end. Yeah,
I still think that. I don't know. I think the Rockets could be.
Finals.
They need to pick a direction with him for real. Are they going to keep him or not?
Well, obviously,
this first half of the season is going to be huge for him and the Rockets because he put up the great numbers, but right when he went injured, that's when the Rockets went on their winning streak, made their push to try to catch the Warriors for that 10th seed. They just looked a lot better when they were able to play with that faster pace. That was Jalen Green's best month of his career, his season. So this first half of the season is going to be crucial to them figuring out what they want to do, with Alperen Şengün.
Yeah,
but just him individually, he's got a lot of special skills.
Mm-hmm.
Goggles,
Jackson, who'd you have at 7?
Yeah.
Well, I had Jaren, but I switched him in Porzingis.
Okay, you do not have to switch just because of stuff. You stick with your guns, man.
No, I low-key thought about it, and I was like, wait. Jaren's definitely not better than Tingis.
Okay, so you have Jaren at 8 and Porzingis at 7.
Yeah, well, I'll keep it what it was before, so it's Jaren at 7, Kristaps at 8.
Okay.
So it doesn't mess anything up. So that's what I originally had.
All right, then go with number 6. This should be
number 6.
Joey, you haven't given your 7 yet, have you?
My 7 is actually Bam Adebayo.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Huh?
I like him. Don't get me wrong. He had a great year, but I guess I'm kind of with Miles. We've talked about the Heat before when we talked about Jimmy Butler. Like I'm kind of salty just with the Heat in general that they just kind of meh their way through the regular season and then try to turn it on, and it didn't work this year. And it's not his fault because there were injuries everywhere, but he's still a great player. Don't get me wrong. Still an elite defender. I think him and Jimmy are still a good pair. I think Tyler Herro's new tattoo is god-awful.
It's bad.
But he's a great player. But he's going to be a great player.
It's bad.
It's so bad. I'm sorry. I had to bring that up. I saw it, and it was like, I hope there's some good other tattoo artists down in South Beach that can cover that up for him.
Gosh, I wish that he got traded this offseason.
Right?
Just for that, man. Just for that.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
You talk. I'll try to find the picture.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about Bam. Like, he easily could be higher. I have Şengün at 6 if we would just want to transition to 6.
Okay.
But so I have Şengün only a spot higher. I'm a big fan of Şengün. We talked about it. He's an incredible playmaker and all-around player now. He reminds me a lot of Sabonis and Jokic, where they can kind of just do a little bit of everything. But yeah, my 6 is Şengün. 7 is
low
Bam.
for Bam.
For Bam?
Yeah.
How much lower?
At least 2 spots low.
Okay.
I think Bam's probably top 5.
That's where I got him.
Okay. That's fair.
All right, number 6. I'll give my number 6. 6 is where I have Domantas Sabonis.
Okay, so I need to ask this. Why? Because I'm gonna imagine that you have Wemby. So, never mind. Miles, go ahead.
Yes, I do have Wemby high for this list, but
I have Wemby really high.
I have Wemby higher too, but
I'm putting that out right now. I have
but
Wemby really high.
I have Wemby the
Domantas
lowest. How did that happen?
Sabonis?
Domantas Sabonis, number 6 on the list. Now, obviously, he had a historic year. I'm one of Sabonis's biggest fans from the season. 19 points, 14 boards.
Clearly
8
not.
assists.
He doesn't play defense, Joey.
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
thing.
I'm
That
sorry,
is
but
my
He
thing.
was number 2 on our list for that, right?
What is more important position-wise to have as a bad defender? What can you
A
get
point
away with? A
guard,
point guard
yeah,
or a
or a
center?
center.
You cannot get away with your center not being a defender in today's NBA. It's Domantas
think-
Sabonis, like, for the
I don't
Kings
know.
to go forward as a winning team,
Yeah,
he
Miles,
can't
you're on.
be the
Yeah.
anchor as their center, especially with them not having many other defenders. With him as the anchor, I just don't think it's going to work. You need defense to help you, and he's just not that. Great offensive player, great offensive facilitator, but as far as who I would take on my team, my center has to be solid on the defensive end, unless you are Nikola Jokic-esque offensively, and even then, he's still a solid defender. We'll get to
Isn't
him
he like the
later.
second version of Nikola Jokic?
No.
So you guys know that
Yeah.
my take on the Kings has always been like a little underwhelming. Like I have my doubts about them, and I would say that my biggest thing that holds me back from putting the Kings like higher, like they have De'Aaron Fox, they have like some good young guards and Davion Mitchell, Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray. Like they got pieces, and Malik Monk just signed DeMar DeRozan, traded. But the biggest thing that always holds me back with the Kings is the fact that Domantas Sabonis is their center, and that's not a winning formula on the defensive end.
It's not a knock on his skills as an offensive player. He's an all-NBA player just because of his offensive skills. But as far as that's why I said I'm a big Sabonis fan as far as watching him play, because I love watching the Kings. They're fast-paced. He's great on the handoffs. He's going to body you up in the post. He's a great finisher. But as far as for winning basketball and who I would take on my team, there are 5 centers that I would definitely take over Domantas Sabonis. I just don't know if Sabonis can be a winning player, because we even saw in Indiana, he couldn't fit as a, power forward next to a rim protecting 5 in Miles Turner. So, Sabonis, great player. I just don't think he's that, great if you're trying to, win, seriously be a contender.
I guess I'll make my sales pitch for Sabonis later because he's much higher on my list. Because how many other All NBA players are there on this list?
Right. I mean, that's fair.
He's literally, and I'll make my sales pitch later. Sorry.
Okay.
Who's next?
Miles, I got Sabonis at 6 too. You can put him down there for me.
Okay.
Ugh.
I mean, I have Chet at 6, but that's only because I think I view Chet as the second best player on that Thunder team over J-Dub. I think it's close.
Yeah, it's definitely close.
But I mean, Chet arguably is he's probably the second best rim protecting big in the league, behind Vic. It's either him or Rudy at second, maybe Triple J. But
you really hate Kristaps.
I'll let Chet jump his way up the list for now. I don't want to just give him second.
But I mean, looking at him, he does everything besides, like, he's not the greatest playmaker, but you don't need your big man to play make if he plays that good of defense, shoots 37% from behind the arc. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's the second best player on a number 1 seed, in my opinion, at least. That's why I have him a little higher than these guys. Because I think, like, when the Grizzlies were the number 2 seed, that helped Triple J's stock as well, because he was the second best guy. So I think that's how I'm kind of viewing it for Chet, even though he wasn't, like, he didn't win Depoy, but also I feel like Triple J didn't have to go up against some of these monsters.
But that doesn't help Kristaps Porzingis, who won a championship.
So I mean, yeah, he won a championship, but I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm just saying he's not a top rim, like he's not a top three
Okay.
rim protector.
He was arguably the second best player on the NBA championship team.
No, that's crazy.
In the
That's
okay, yeah.
I guess.
crazy.
Well, in the final, I mean, Jaylen Brown won. Tatum was a no-show.
I
Yeah.
feel like
all
Tatum
right. We
was.
don't have to get into it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I feel like Tatum kind of gets trashed on for that. When the Finals MVP was announced, I thought it was going to be Tatum. I was surprised that
Yeah.
it was Brown. I think Tatum was better than people give him credit for.
He was
We
probably
just
better than Porzingis.
Tatum didn't score in the like he didn't score at his efficient rate that he usually does in the regular season in the finals, but when he wasn't scoring, he was facilitating really well. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Jaylen Brown played better than him, obviously, but I don't think it was as far off as people like are
Mhm.
saying.
Yeah. I think we were talking after the first couple games before Porzingis got hurt that like if he played like that the whole series and didn't get hurt, he easily could have won Finals MVP.
Anything
So
can happen.
like,
That's what I'm saying. For most of that playoff run, he was injured. Like I'm not. It bumps him down a tiny bit for me. I think I did put him.
it should.
for that
Availability
that's
counts.
very
Yeah.
fair.
Like I'm gonna be
Availability
honest, I put him
counts.
way too low on this list, but also like I don't know. I like the rim protect, but also I might be a little biased on one of these people, but that's besides the point.
That's all right.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till
I have one person on these
it's
lists.
his
Let me rate him a little high.
I wonder where Şengün will be rated on this list.
Going into my number 5, it is Alperen Şengün.
Okay, I figured.
I can't go too great. I wanted to so bad. I wanted to.
he had a fantastic year. So like, even we kind of knew he would be in your top 5.
Everyone's talking about, like you guys were talking about how the Rockets were worse when he played, but that's only because Jalen Green also was literally the same player as Jordan Poole during that stretch. Like look at the side by side comparisons.
They were bad. He was bad,
dude.
Well, okay. Can I jump in?
The same points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, and efficiencies across the board.
Is it then? So it's just a coincidence that Jalen Green turned it around after the injury?
Can I tell you guys? I can give you guys the answer. I know the answer.
Oh, here we go. He knows the answer.
His Turkish Joker's skill sets are like it's just not compatible with like the rest of how the Rockets roster is efficiently going to play like the best. Like Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, even Van Vliet. Like these dudes are going to run and gun, play defense, like ball pressure. Dylan Brooks is going to like run and gun, try and get the ball like in the air, run it, like make them force long passes, ball pressure and stuff. And you know the Turkish Joker is just going to like slow it down, go at his own pace, like one-on-one, get my own bucket, create other shots for other guys based on the gravity that I have as a playmaker. And you need to, like it's just two different sort of paces and skill. Like the skill sets are not necessarily compatible with the rest of the roster, like his skill set.
That's fair.
Could be.
Yeah, the only thing was like it's hard to base that off because they also, I don't think people remember, but the Rockets had they started the season off so hot. They had like a, what was it, like almost 10 game win streak at the beginning of the year. And that was
the Rockets season. I mean, it was basically home. If you're at home, you're gonna win. If you're on the road, you're gonna lose.
But the thing was, like, even when Şengün played, he was getting the guards open, like Jalen Green and Van Vliet, but they couldn't hit water if they fell off a boat. They were awful. I mean, Jalen Green during that time, Şengün was setting him up for open shots, and he shot 39% from the field. That's what
so you've played basketball. Is it different when you're getting a shot, like you're just sitting out on the wing, ready to catch and shoot, and you have to wait for someone else to like make their own play versus like I'm gonna get out in transition and create my own shot, or like maybe I have the ball and create my own shot. Now I'm in a little bit of a rhythm. Whereas like if I'm just catching and shooting, I haven't really had time to like square up, like get the ball set and whatnot. Like it's not my own shot necessarily. So I think Jalen Green is someone who thrives when he is sort of like getting into his rhythm and creating his own shot and stuff. And it just goes back to what I said, like the Turkish Joker skill set is kind of non compatible with his most efficient style of play being your
Yeah.
second best player.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I think it's just tough because like I watched majority of his games and like a lot of times like I'm not saying he was perfect or anything, but a lot of times it was just the people like he was setting people up, he was getting people like open looks or like and all that. And he was a liability on defense, but he would get these people these open looks and they just blow it. Like I mean, Miles knows. Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday couldn't shoot. It was weird.
Well, yeah, the Rockets don't have the best shooters to surround Şengün with. I think that's apparent on this
Yeah.
team. Like when you look at last season, they didn't have a guy that shot over 40% from three. Fred VanVleet was their best three-point shooter, 39% on 8 attempts. And, we think, 39% is still, very good percentage. But interestingly enough, like as the league, has evolved and guys are shooting more threes, getting more quality looks, league average for three has jumped up to like 36, 37%. So now you're looking Fred VanVleet as your best three-point shooter is just barely above average. You
Yeah.
need more, actual, sharp shooter type players to fit along with Şengün. I'm excited to see some future lineups with the Rockets going forward.
Mhm.
Like Amin Thompson, if
Mhm.
he could run, I don't know. I haven't watched, a ton of Rockets games, or at least as much as Goglin, but Amin
Reed
Thompson as
Shepherd,
a
yeah.
roller or a cutter,
So
I'd
good.
love to see him in that Aaron Gordon role on offense. I'm not sure if he can defend fours just yet, but
He
if you
can
could have
defend everyone ever.
if you could have lineups with, let's say, Van Fleet, Jalen Green, maybe Amin, um, Jabari Smith and then Şengün, and you just have a bunch of guys that can cut, can run pick and roll. I mean, the Rockets have so many options heading into next year.
Not
But
even mentioning Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd's so
I
perfect.
forgot about Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd's
Yeah,
going to
Reed
be
is
great.
perfect.
Reed is. I mean, I think he could be like like what they want Jalen Green to be with next to Şengün, because he's a sharpshooter,
It's
but
possible.
he's good at getting to his spots and everything too. And that's what I like. That's why I'm excited. I think Ime Udoka is going to do a good job though, like coaching Şengün to be able to like incorporate the fast pace. I think they're going to do like kind of a hybrid offense like that.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be some fast paced, some slower paced, and I think that's going to work really well. Especially because like if you have Amen Thompson in those lineups, he's going to get his defense is like honestly he's one of the best on ball defenders I've seen. That was just short sample, but he's going to help if they put him in lineups and all that too. So I think there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, last thing on the Rockets, because I mean this is a top 10 centers, but we haven't really talked a whole lot about the Rockets this offseason. If the Rockets, their backup centers right now are Steven Adams, Jock Landale. Shout out to the Olympian Jock Landale. But the Rockets, if they want to mix in, that fast-paced play with their, throw it to Şengün in the post and see what can happen. Jabari Smith at the 5 with a whole bunch of athletes out on the floor as a
Oh
backup
yeah.
unit. That could be fun. That's one of the Rockets' most played lineups from last year, and it is one of the few that has actually a positive net rating. So that could be a fun lineup for the future. Very, very, fun and efficient as well. But
All right, let's continue.
let's get back. Let's get back on track here. Number 5, Joey. Who's your number 5 center?
I have Wembanyama.
Me too.
Wemby at 5.
Nice. All right.
I have him at 5.
What else can you say about Wemby? Man is, if he played the way he did for the rest of the year, the way he did for the whole year, the way he did at the end, he would have been an all-star like right away. Like he was fantastic. Turned it on. Even turned it on because he was already great. He was already great when he came in. And I didn't even know. I knew he was a freak of nature, but I didn't know he was going to be that good right away. I thought it was going to take up, he's got all this skill, but he's going to have to put on muscle. He's going to have to bang in with the big boys. And No, he came out 21, 10, 3.5 blocks, like insane.
4.8 stocks.
Like insane.
That's insane.
4 assists in under 30 minutes per game.
Yeah.
So I got Wemby 5 here, and this will definitely be the lowest that he's ranked ever. Probably be able to jump Bam and KP. I would imagine sometime like by halfway through the year. Definitely by the end of the year, I can see him jumping them too. But I remember just like at the beginning of the year last year, Joey, like you were saying, just not expecting him to be so good so quick. I remember getting on Stream East and trying to watch as many Spurs games as I could because it was just like seeing something new for the first time. Like it was brand new. It was like something like I've watched basketball for 25 years and I've studied it a lot more closely as of late in my life, and just seeing Wemby out there doing things that I've never seen anyone else do. It was like I couldn't get enough of it. It was just so fun to watch, and I'm so excited to watch him, jump KP, jump Bam, and just continue to be a force.
I know I wasn't on the podcast last week, or the last time, because I was celebrating my dad's birthday, and I had Paolo at 9, I think it was. That's the lowest I was ever going to have Paolo, because it's the same thing for Wemby, even though he's at 5, which is insane to say. It's going to be, like you said, it's going to be the lowest he's ever going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 5 is Bam. Bam, very good year. I think the Miami Heat's rough regular season, I don't really put that on Bam that much. Defensively, he was still 3rd in defensive player of the year. He was an all-star. He was better playmaking this year. It kind of dipped off a little the last couple seasons. I remember when he first broke out, that was the big thing. Like, man,
yeah,
double machine,
5
and
assists.
he can give you 5 assists a game while giving you great defense. This guy's awesome. It's kind of tailed off a little bit. Jumped back up this year. Second half of the season, he added a bit of a 3. There was that run where he was just knocking down a 3 per game. And we
I
saw
don't really
in
like
the
to see that
Olympics.
though.
In the Olympics, though, they were playing him at a 4/5. They were playing him with AD because he can guard, the perimeter, and he was stretching out and hitting some corner threes. Like, if Bam Adebayo, if he can hit threes at 34, 35% around there, and to give you 1 a game, it gives you some other option. For a Miami team that doesn't have a whole lot, offensively, it can give them another look if he can kind of add that 3-point shot. So, Bam Adebayo, great year for Bam. Number 5, maybe a little bit low, but I just think it fits.
I have him 1 spot higher at number 4. I'm not sure if everyone gave out their number 5s yet or not, but Bam was my number 4. Yeah, this dude has been a top 5 defensive player of the year candidate for the last 5 years. I mean, just an incredible 5-year run that this dude has put on both ends of the court, averaging over 15 and 10 while being top 5 in defensive player of the year. I mean, that is enough in my book to get you a top 5 center position. So, and by the way, like, he's on a team that's made the playoffs every year too. So.
Yeah.
2 finals appearances. Is Bam Adebayo, since, we're in 2024, when we're at the end of the calendar year, we're probably going to do a whole lot of looking back at the first half of the 2020s, because crazy enough, we will be at the halfway point of the 2020s. Bam Adebayo, is it crazy to say that he is the 4th best center of the 2020s? So far in the decade? Like, I think he's been that good. You could even, it'd be Jokic, Embiid, Anthony Davis, then Bam. I think those are the only 3 I'd put above him in the 2020s.
As a whole, yeah.
And that's just crazy. It's weird to think Bam Adebayo, he's turned into, just a consistent player at the center position. Sometimes you don't really get that at the center position, where you don't really know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get from Bam on most nights. He's added that mid-range jump shot as well. He can post you up a little bit. Bam's he's just a very good, solid player. Joey, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Kristaps Porzingis.
All right,
we've
same
talked
with
about
me.
him. We've talked about him enough. I think he was great. Being in Boston is a perfect fit with that team. He's elite defensively, averaging 2 blocks a game. I didn't realize how good defensively he was, and it was honestly shocking that he only averaged at 2 blocks a game, because I swear every single time I watched him, every time they try to run into the paint, he was blocking somebody or making it difficult on them. Like his offensive numbers are still the same as they always have been, and they've been great. But like his defense for me this year, being in that Boston team as a whole, to me it looked like a step up that he has been.
Yeah, Kristaps, he was awesome. I'm trying to go back and find the initial trade because, yeah, how in the world did the Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks in the trade? Like, that's unbelievable. They were the only team that got first-round picks in that 3-team trade to get Kristaps Porzingis. That just sounds ridiculous even saying it. But, yeah, we talk about Porzingis a lot. He was one of the big difference makers for Boston this year, being, legit. And although he was injured, throughout, part of the playoffs, the first couple games of the finals, he was the front runner for Finals MVP, and he just looked like the best player on the floor those first 2 games. So I think his impact on the best team in the NBA, I think he deserves this number 4 spot, and I can't be mad at him being higher, even if you guys got him higher.
Yeah.
Well, we know Jackson doesn't.
That's
Jackson
right.
have a number 9.
Yeah, I also just realized I forgot like one of the top guys, but it's okay.
What?
Who do you have it for?
I had Sabonis at 4. I mean, I moved everyone down 1, but for my list, I'm keeping it the same. Like I said, yeah, Sabonis is my 4 technically. Well, he's my 5 technically, but he's my 4 on here.
All right. I gotta talk about KP real quick. He's my number 3. So, for me, this came down to the fact that he pretty much unlocked the Celtics. Like when they made that trade, bro, I was like, yeah, the Celtics are the front runners now, and it was more of an idea until we really saw it play out. And the way that it played out was that they looked like they couldn't miss a beat. Like it was a completely different team and completely different vibe from what we saw in the playoffs leading up to last year, where they like were stagnant and their late game offense was really bad and they just didn't look like they knew how to close a game. Like it was a completely different vibe. And I think KP, Miles, you said he was one of the biggest pieces in changing. I think he was the biggest piece, and that's why I think he's top 3. And like he's a great rim protector too, Jackson. He's a great rim protector.
He is.
Special player. Very special player. Overlooked the last few years. That's why the Celtics got 2 first-round picks along with him, because he's been overlooked the last few years.
Yeah, he's always been good on 2K. Never got bad on 2K.
No, I mean, he just gave the Celtics a whole new, like, you mentioned defensively now they have a 7-3 body to, rim protect and block shots. But offensively, you can throw it to him in the post, and he can just shoot over guys, and it looks like a normal shot. Like, he's got such a pretty shot in the post, and most of the time it's going in at a good clip.
Very true. Very true.
All right, number 3. Joey, who do you have at number 3?
Okay. I have Sabonis here.
What?
What? Oh my gosh, an all NBA player made top 3 for centers, and the only 2 guys above him also made all NBA teams. What a shock. Oh my goodness. Never heard of before in my life.
You're just using a singular, like, flat criteria then.
Yeah.
That's like saying
I also
higher than some people because he was clutch player of the year.
I also that's stop. We're talking about Sabonis here. Hold up. I just want to point out now. I don't know who's voting this.
It's me.
But I just want to say, for the top 10 defensive player of the year votes, Sabonis tied Jarrett Allen, Alex Caruso, and Jalen Suggs. Just want to say it. And
I want to know who voted him all NBA too.
He should be all NBA. Are you kidding? 19.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 8.2 assists, shooting nearly 60% from the field, 38% from 3.
Like meaningful basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good. I mean, I will say that, like, the all NBA thing, it's definitely a great, well-deserved reward. But I will say, back in 2016, DeAndre Jordan was first team All NBA. Does that mean he should have been the number 1 center on the
Yes.
top 10 list.
100%. Dude, his Instagram is weird.
You know what I'm saying? No, it's the same thing.
I do also want to say I love this versus finder for the basketball and StatHead. It's one of my favorite things. And out of these top 5 guys, Sabonis, Wemby, Anthony Davis, Jokic, and Porzingis, he has the best efficiency out of all of them, most rebounds out of all of them, played all 82 games, and besides Jokic, he's the second highest value over replacement. Jokic is at 10.6, Sabonis at 6.2, and then Anthony Davis is at 4.9.
Let's talk about defensive ratings with their lineups with him versus those guys. Put that in the versus finder.
Sabonis is so severely underrated. Like, his defense made, like I said, I know he shouldn't be top 10 defensive player. I just had to put that out there because when I was looking at his stats and the Basketball Reference, it showed he was like 8th for MVP voting, and then it said top 10 for defensive player. I'm like, wait a second, who's actually voting this guy? Like, I love the dude, but he should not be on the top 10 defensive player of the year.
I completely forgot someone did that.
That is actually ridiculous.
Did you forget someone too, Miles?
It's
well, at the end of the day, Joey, I mean, it's only 3 spots. You have him at 3, we have him at 6. It's only 3 spots.
But
it's way better than KP, so you're good.
I don't know, man. Sabonis, I'm so happy he's getting this All-NBA recognition. He's getting finally some of this recognition. But the man is an elite big man, whether you want to put him at 4, whether you want to put him at 5. His defense may suck, but his offense is so good that it makes up for it, I think. I think it overpowers it, really. It really
He's an anti-Jaren Jackson.
He kind of is. He kind of is. Like, Jaren Jackson's defense is so good, it makes up for the lack of efficiency for scoring. Sabonis, same thing. His offense is so phenomenal that they're scoring at a pace.
I guess I would just go back to the Miles thing where he's like, is it more important for a point guard to be bad at defense or for your center to be bad at defense?
Now, this may be the highest I'll have Sabonis in any other rankings for how long we do this podcast, like for how many years we do this. This may be my highest because you're right. His defense, I'd rather have a center weak at defense than a point guard, mostly because the point guard has to guard the man who's dribbling up the ball. So personally, you have to stop the ball. But a center, the way the league is going, all these centers, especially if you're going to go against Wemby, Chet, Jokic, and all these other guys, you have to go out and guard the 3-point line, and Sabonis cannot do that. So in these upcoming years, it's clearly just going to
deteriorate.
It's going
to fall off the face of the earth. Last All-NBA.
No, okay, not fall off the face of the earth, but he's going to be exposed for his defense so bad, and I will admit it, but I know it's common, but at least based off of last year, with how stacked the West is and how good the Kings have been the last 2 years, I know Mike Brown's the greatest coach of all time. I know De'Aaron Fox is great, but Fox and Sabonis, they're the reason that this team has been a playoff contender in this stacked West.
And look, to give Sabonis and the Kings credit, they did improve their defense a lot last year. Their offense just tailed off a little bit because teams kind of got used to them. So they definitely could get better. If I were to pick centers,
if I'm starting a franchise, of course I'm going to pick out all these other guys over him because these other guys.
It did feel weird putting an All-NBA guy at number 6 for me.
But I don't even have top 5 for me. That's just disrespectful for an All-NBA guy. And a guy that's putting up these kind of numbers that's just undervalued as Jokic.
You had Bam at 9, though, didn't you?
I had Bam at 7. I had Bam at 7, just outside the top 5, and I do like Bam. So
the defense just matters to me with the center, and I don't think
totally fair.
Yeah, Joey, I'm not gonna open my mouth. I'm too far gone in this video already.
Yeah, I'm a big Sabonis fan. This will be the highest I ever have him, probably. But
yeah, I'm just gonna tell you right now.
He was so good.
What's up, Jackson?
The person I forgot was Anthony Davis.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
No, you still have time to fit him in.
I kind of just forgot, like, he has a basic last name, so I like was looking at the rosters and I'm like, who's Davis? I'm like, wait, who's Davis, bro?
Who is this? Anthony Davis.
So everyone else has moved down besides like someone else, but
that is hilarious. Okay, well, my number 3.
Yeah, I'm cooked.
This is crazy, but I have Wemby at number 3.
That's same.
And it's crazy that he's a top 3 center to me already, but I might be contradicting myself because I'm always like, give players time. Give these young players time to grow. I think he has earned this number 3 spot. I think that the Spurs record, I think they wanted to be bad. His teammates just did not really know how to play with him besides Devin Vassell and Trey Jones. I think that if he was on just a better team, if he was in any of these other situations, maybe besides Chet, because it's hard to, be better than a 1 seed. I think if he was on any of these other situations, he would have made that team better. He would have made that team better. And for a rookie to do that, it's incredible. And number 3, he could jump up to number 1 by next season. That's how much potential he has. So I think this is still enough room for him to grow. It's crazy, man. Wemby, like you said, it was a treat watching him last year, and it was just year 1. We're hopefully going to get to see a whole lot more of him. Special player.
I do have a quick question regarding Wemby. I know it's we can go into it later. Maybe we can do a segment of like, hey, it's only been 1 year, but it's only been 1 year, but is Wemby going to go down as the greatest Spur of all time?
Yes.
I would.
Goglin, you clearly don't know ball. I ignore that.
Dude, he's going to win the next 10 depoys. Think about, dude.
I'm sorry, but in San Antonio, they count championships.
Yeah, he's going to win some of those too, son.
I don't know. I don't know if you can really answer that right now because you're right. Like, they value winning, and like if he can't win there, then he'll obviously ask to leave, and so who knows what's going to happen. My question about Wemby that I think might be, I don't know, not to just dump on your question, but I think it's a little bit more interesting, is how many years until he's like in the top MVP candidate race?
I give it 2.
However long until the Spurs are good. Once the Spurs are in the mix for the playoffs, he'll be up there.
Next year, after this year.
2
seasons from now, he could be a top 10 MVP.
Top 5. I could say top 5.
5 in his 3rd year.
In 2 years.
He just has so much potential. Joey, for your question, greatest Spur of all time. He's got some tough names to fit with, but I think it's only 2. I think obviously Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time. It's tough to beat that. David Robinson's accolades are incredible. But I mean, even when you look throughout the Spurs dynasty, I don't think, he can easily pass Tony Parker or Manu Ginobili. And that's no disrespect to those guys.
I wasn't even saying that. I was saying I was going to say he could easily pass George Gervin.
George Gervin, yeah, he could too. I mean,
George Gervin is exactly kind of the situation saying like what Nick was saying, like if Wemby can't win anything, but he sticks with the Spurs or moves on, he's kind of in that same situation the Iceman was in, where he was in one of the best small forwards in the league the entire time he was in the league. You couldn't stop him from scoring, but he couldn't win anything because the Spurs weren't good then. He was literally their whole team.
No, in his 10 seasons that the Spurs made the playoffs. They made it out of the first round, I believe, twice or 3 times. Yeah. And that just, it definitely hurts. I mean, sometimes you're just in those situations. 4-time scoring champ, 9-time All-NBA, 12-time All-Star.
I love George Gervin. Oh,
great player. But I mean, we are in a different, we're in a different era now to where, if you're not winning, you can get yourself out of there. But I don't think that the Spurs will have to worry about that because it's the Spurs. They're a lot different.
As much money as they they're gonna give them naming rights to their next arena.
So yeah, Wemby at number 3. It might be high, but I think it's fair.
That's where I have him too.
So number 2 is where I have Anthony Davis.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same.
So
Now,
You
Jackson,
forgot him, Jackson. What do you mean?
wait, so Jackson, where do you have Bam then? Where'd you have Bam on your list?
well, right now after all that, I have Bam at 4 and I have Victor at 3.
Okay.
And then everyone else so Sabonis at 5, Alp 6, Chet 7, Kristaps should be higher,
LP
but
falls out of the top 5.
he does. It's
Breaking news.
Yeah.
You're right, because Sabonis is just the better version of LP.
Right now, yeah.
He is. Yeah, I agree with that.
Dude, if Sabonis was honestly on the Rockets instead of Şengün, they could. I think home court could be in play because of their defense. Because they have the defense to, surround Sabonis. But anyway, that's enough. We've talked way too much Rockets for a whole.
We did.
Anthony Davis, number 2. Anthony Davis, man, 76 games played this year for a guy that always gets, trashed on for not playing enough games. That's my biggest thing for him this year is that he played in nearly all the games and had a great year.
You know who did play all 82 games? Domantas Sabonis. I'm just kidding. No, 100% agree. Anthony Davis is the clear-cut number 2 only because the clear-cut number 1 is the former MVP. Yeah, like
the current MVP.
The current MVP. Sorry,
3-time MVP. What are you talking about, son?
Relax.
Better than another.
It's long. It's been a long day.
But Anthony Davis deserves love for sure. I think that him playing with the Lakers after the championship year, it's always been that he gets injured and that's when the Lakers tail off and that's why they disappoint or whatever, whether it's the regular season or the playoffs. This year he just played very well. You knew what you were getting from Anthony Davis, except there was one stretch in November, December where he was kind of inconsistent, but after that 55.5% from the season, second most efficient year of his career, 25 points, 12.5 boards, 3.5 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, 4th in defensive player of the year still, just an all-around fantastic player who's now is going to enter his 13th season in the NBA at age 31. Crazy that he's already going to be this late into his career.
Yeah. 13th year. I turned 25 today. We're getting old, man.
What do you feel about the Anthony Davis shooting only 27% from 3? I'd like to see him get it up at least to the 30% mark.
Honestly, I don't really care. If he's the center, I don't really care.
He's also
I gave my 2 cents.
He's the most underrated defensive player in the NBA.
That's true. That is true.
I gave my 2 cents on AD when we talked about who's LeBron's best teammate of all time.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I've loved from AD is just that he's given us more longevity from LeBron here in his twilight years because he's just such a big part of them two being a great duo.
True.
Great point. I mean, I think at this point, Anthony Davis, he's already, gotten everything. I think the only thing that he would add is a 3-point shot. And if he adds it, it's just, it's icing on top of the cake or whatever. I mean, it would certainly help them for sure.
He needs to figure out
if
he can stop Joker.
Well, back in his first year in LA, he averaged 3.5 3-point attempts and shot 33% from 3. I want him to get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, he was also playing the 4 more. I think that's why he was kind of out at the perimeter more. That's where I would like to see him because I think that
he's so good there.
That's where JJ Redick wants him.
He has to exert so much energy when he's playing the 5. I think that if he could play the 4, that would help out. And I think, Jared Vanderbilt's injuries last year kind of prevented that from happening. But, number 1, Nikola Jokic, of course,
the GOAT.
MVP, 3-time MVP. Just what more is there to say about, Nikola Jokic? I mean,
I got Jock Landale here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Shout out Jock Landale again.
Yeah, man.
Jokic is incredible, man. He's just doing stuff that you don't get to see, man. You don't get to see these triple double. Like you don't get to see it, man. He's just dominating the game in a new way.
I saw this video of someone saying Jokic looks like he plays pool basketball with kids when he's playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
The way he shoots, the way he holds the ball, the way he like he just is so good at it. He's like he's playing against kids in pool basketball.
I think the biggest contribution that Nikola Jokic has made in his time is like the hot button word that has become of court mapping. Like just, it's kind of like talked about a lot now, and I think it has to do a lot with the way Jokic knows where everyone is on the court at all times, and he's just has such a high IQ that he can almost predict what all 9 other guys are about to do before they do it, and he just it's like he's playing chess.
It's another reason why the Nuggets probably don't make a whole lot of big changes around their team because he's been playing with them so long. He knows exactly if they're building the team around Jokic and he's still your best player and he's one of the best in the league, you got to kind of still cater to him and keep the same kind of group of guys around him.
If I had one word to describe Jokic's greatness, I would say instinctual. Like he's instinctual all the time.
It's a good word.
Yeah,
thanks.
Absolutely. I mean, very. It's Nikola Jokic, man. You talk about knowing what you're gonna get. You're gonna get yourself a near triple double, high efficiency. Again, shooting 58% from the field. He was 4th in the clutch player of the year voting. I know we're talking about award voting, but still, like number 4. I think that's legit for your center to be top 5 of clutch player of the year. That's kind of crazy for your big man to be your closer, but it's because, like you said, Nick, he knows where everyone's going to be at on the floor. He can make any shot on the floor. There isn't anything he can't do on the offensive end, and defensively, he gets you a steal and a half a game. He's definitely improved defensively. That's why the Nuggets are able to still survive on that end, because he's improved so much defensively from when he first entered the league.
Well, yeah, it's like every time the shot clock's winding down, there's like 2 seconds left. You just pass to Jokic and he chucks it up, and it's like it goes in every time. It's so annoying.
That's why he's 4th in clutch player of the year.
Yeah. So that is our top 10 centers list. That is the final top 10 list. All of them were a lot of fun, a lot of different opinions and some debates, but still a lot of fun. A lot of fun with getting to talk about all these great players individually. Because when we're doing the season, kind of hard to talk about all these guys individually, how their season has gone. So it's nice to shine some light on some guys that shine on guys and get to talk about them a lot more than normally we are able to during the season.
Yeah.
Please give Sabonis some love in the comments.
Poor Domantas Sabonis. Except for on Joey's list, top 3 center.
He was 5th on mine.
That's all right.
We'll put him on the thumbnail. We'll put him on the thumbnail.
Please and thank you.
That's
all I ask.
Do I get a thumbnail request?
Exactly.
Jock Landale. Jock Landale is
maybe.
Jock Landale Olympic jersey on the thumbnail. Well, guys, make sure you stay tuned for Friday on the YouTube channel and on Spotify, where we will be going over our combined joint top 50 players list from the 2023-24 season heading into next year. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.